Hey everybody, Jared with Second Life Design. Today we're going to install an auxiliary oiler on my new chainsaw mill. Alright, this is the Granberg auxiliary oiler kit. This is going to add an auxiliary oiling location to the end of the bar. So the factory oil pump of the chainsaw will kind of lubricate this far. And the idea being that this is going to drip oil into the bar to cover the other side. It is just providing extra oil for long bars, and yeah, very simple, straightforward concept. And I think it's a worthwhile add-on if you have a bar over probably 4 feet. That would be kind of about the number I would say. Looking specifically at the tank, I have done something a little bit extra where I put this clip in the hitch pin that will hold it in, because this just drops down. It is meant to just slide into the post. And a few people reached out and they mentioned that they like putting a little pin in there. I got this, and that will go through, keep it from falling off in transport, and etc. What turns this on, there is a valve right on here that you can adjust the flow with, and that is what will let it's all gravity fed, the weight of the oil coming down the hose into the fitting. The cap is vented, so it should, you shouldn't have to have that cracked or anything, where it will just let the oil fall, and that is all you need to know. Put that back together. Here is where it gets kind of interesting. The hose comes down, and it goes into this fitting. I will take this out, and I'll show you how I drilled this through. You have to drill a hole into the bar for this bolt and nut to go through, but it's very important, and this maybe seem very obvious, that this fitting, this bolt, whatever you want to call it, a banjo bolt, is on the outboard side of your milling frame. If it's on the inside, it's going to get hit when you are cutting. So I know it seems very obvious. I just want to stress that for optimum use, it needs to be outboard. And you'll notice mine is installed in the tip. I am really trying to get the maximum width out of my mill. I can get 65 inches out of this bar, and I want to use as much of it as I can. Let me take this mill apart and take the bar loose, the chain loose, and get you a better idea of what to look for when you're drilling these in for putting this banjo bolt in. All right, I've got this taken apart. I want to really illustrate what this is if you're not familiar with it, and what it's really doing and how it's working, so you understand the full function of it. So the bolt has been drilled through, and then there's another hole right there that is allowing the oil to go in and then out that hole. So the way this is lined up with the thickness of the chainsaw bar, it is allowing all the oil to go into the groove of the chainsaw bar. So it's using the chain to pull all that oil down the cutting side of the bar. So this is a very specific thing. Let me see if you can see that second hole there and how it's lined up with that. So as you can imagine, drilling of the hole, this through hole, is very critical, and Granberg sends a really nice diagram of how to do that and what to look for, but drilling this hole is very critical. Okay, these are the 2 holes I drilled, and you always want and the instructions talk about this, you want the oil to be dropped in on the cutting side of the bar, and you flip the bar. For wear, you flip it from side to side, so you need 2 holes. I chose to put the holes on the end, like on the nose of this thing. If I need to replace this for whatever reason, I will just use this as a template, line it up, and drill it. What I had to ensure with this is I was not hitting the drive gear inside of here, and I am very close, but it is not touching it, and that's what I really wanted. That way I can lubricate this part at the same time as well. That is my preference. There is no set spec for this. I wanted as much lubrication to all the moving parts as I can get. That's what made the most sense to me, and that's why I chose that. All right, the last thing I'm going to talk about and show is the layout lines you can use to help determine the location of your hole. I think that, to me, was the most daunting part, because you only really get one shot at it. I didn't want to turn my bar into Swiss cheese, and I wanted to make sure I had it right. If you look at it, I'll pop up the image of the Granberg instructions, but if you really look at that and you think about what it's doing, it is not as daunting as it should be. Where all you are really trying to do is miss the drive teeth to where they're not interfering with your banjo bolt, where they're not touching it, and that you're also you're not going too far back to where you're not letting the oil be exposed to that groove. Hopefully the image is showing that enough to where it's kind of giving you that idea. And I'm going to readjust my camera here, and I want to show you the layout lines that I used and kind of how I did this, and hopefully that'll help you as well. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I laid out the marks on my new bar on this old bar. And this is going to be a quick and dirty thing. I don't want people to overthink this. I more understand the concept of what it's doing, and how it's doing it is you can kind of make that your own. First, we need to determine the depth of this groove. I'm using my Craig multi-mark. This is any adjustable combination square will work. Something with the sliding rule that you can push up against here to determine the depth of that. So that is how deep our the groove is. That's what we got. I'm going to take a pencil, make a line. So that represents the bottom of that groove. This is supposed to be a 3/8 hole. I'm taking a 3/8 drill bit. This will not be perfectly round. This is a cheap drill bit that has like the flats kind of on it, but it will serve my purposes, where I am going to just offset this slightly. So when I drill through, I will be exposing just enough of the groove. So oil will be able to fall down through there. And that will be that. So I got my basic indication there. So that is where the hole will be. Let me grab the chain, and so hopefully we can see here that when the chain is in the groove, it is just missing that. That is what we're after, and that is what I want. If you wanted to, you could move this back. You'll move the hole back a little bit more inboard. It's not going to hurt anything. This is the concept we're going for, though. We want the teeth to move the banjo bolt. Okay, very quick, and I think it's a worthwhile install, in addition to your mill. If you have a big bar and you have concerns about oil, if you're getting burning of sawdust where the bar is getting so hot that it's actually kind of charring the sawdust a little bit, then adding some additional lubrication is definitely not going to hurt anything. It's going to get some more longevity out of the bar. I hope I was not repeating myself too much and that everything was kind of clear on the installation of the banjo bolt. I chose to put mine a little bit further out than probably most people would. I'm very comfortable with where it's at, and I think it's going to help to lubricate the drive gear at the end in addition to the chain on the cutting side. So I hope that does help. I'm asking for a favor from everyone. If you have an auxiliary oiler, will you drop a comment down below with your location, kind of your region in the world, cold, hot, temperate, whatever, and then what oil you're using. I'm getting a lot of different answers to what oil to use in an auxiliary oiler, and I've myself have found that regular chainsaw oil, bar oil, is too thick, where I use synthetic stuff for the engine, and it is too thick where it is not wanting to flow down the hose. So I want to know what everyone else is using, and my hope is that if everybody comments on where they're at, you can kind of search through the comments and find out what people are using in your area or something comparable to it. So I would appreciate any help with that. Any other questions, guys, drop them down below. I always appreciate those and try and integrate those into other Milling Monday questions. And if you can't reach me here, on Instagram at Secondlifedesign as always. And I appreciate everyone tuning in and hitting the subscribe button. Really appreciate that, and have a good week.